Springfield's Talk 1041. Hello, everybody, and a good Tuesday morning. My name is Nick Reed. Welcome to the show, and to those who, what happened to all our special lighting? We had that nice special lighting for a while.
I'll turn it on for you.
I mean, Womack, he purchased that fancy lighting for us.
You're going to try to make me feel guilty,
Well,
aren't you?
it was just a question, that's all.
It makes me sleepy because it is so dark in here.
Our viewing audience on our video stream, sponsored by Springfield Wraps, who also designed the studio. You can watch us on Facebook. That's 1041 Nick Reed. And then also YouTube, which I saw somebody had texted in, and they said that they were looking for the live stream on YouTube, and all they found were old clips. And what they have to click on that says...
Yeah, so on YouTube...
Click on the live stream.
Yeah, there's a couple of different tabs whenever you get on our channel. There's a live stream tab, so you can see all of our previous live streams as well.
When you're right, when you switch over to the more appropriate lighting, actually in here it seems so much darker. But on the stream itself, it's a little darker, but it's not. It just doesn't seem like there's such a difference. And, well...
Makes me sleepy.
It's too hot to be a cave in here. What is the deal with it? What is just going on this morning?
I don't know.
I'm telling you. Now, there is a chance of some storms tonight, possibly severe. Chance of tornadoes also. We'll have a look at that coming up. A lot of things going on today, of course. Elections, city councils, levies, school board races. In the 7 o'clock hour, if you want to call in and you have any thoughts about any of those races, we'll allow you to do it. I'm not going to set aside a specific amount of time. We're going to play it by ear. And the reason I say that is because these elections have a lower participation rate, and fewer people want to actually call in and participate. When it's a presidential election or a primary, it's easy to fill an hour with people calling in, sometimes 2 or even 3, a whole show we've done before. It's just you calling in and, hey, I want you to vote for this person. I like this person. Here's what I think is going to happen. So we will, in the 7 o'clock hour, play it by ear a bit, and we will have those phone lines open, and I'll probably just give a few thoughts as well, and we'll go from there. There's so much stuff today. There's that Trump thing. I don't know if you heard about that. I have received word, incidentally, that Mark Levin, of course, we carry the show, he is going to, so Trump is going to address the nation tonight from, I believe, Mar-a-Lago. And Mark Levin's people have said that he's going to carry it live uninterrupted. And, of course, we carry Mark Levin, so you will be able to hear it, although I don't offhand, now that I think about it, know exactly what time that's going to be. But if you listen between 5 and 8, you'll hear it. Or if you're just out and about and you know that it's going to be coming on and you don't have television right in front of you, then you can turn on Mark Levin and you can hear that address. That, of course, barring, I suppose, any gag order, which there has been talk of a judge putting on Trump. Now, that being said, if that does happen, will Trump abide by it? And is it going to be a narrow gag order, and in one in which he can't specifically say this or talk about that, which, I think we're all familiar with at least the term gag order. But everything about this is just so absolutely unprecedented. And everything about this is, again, if you were to create a checklist of how tyranny works, this would be it. And we're watching it play out. And as so many of us have said for so long, Democrats will cheer it. The Democrats who claim that they're anti-fascist, the Democrats who claim that they're anti-dictatorship, the Democrats that claim they're opposed to using law enforcement or the law and justice in order to go after political opposition. When it does happen, they won't be horrified. They'll cheer it. As long as it's their enemy that is subject to it, and that, of course, is what's playing out here. I think that, if anything, to take away from this It is time to recognize that if it really got down to it, and the Democrats get to the point where they go full-blown, round up everyone, put them in camps, do not expect your Democrat voting friends and family to stand up for you. You realize that. Now, they may today claim that they would, but based on their behavior, we know that that's not true. Where have they been? When people on the right get silenced, lose their jobs, sit in jail for over 2 years without due process, get shot while unarmed in the Capitol, where are they? They're cheering it on. And if Democrats do, they don't seem to show any signs of slowing down, and I know it's the sort of thing that seems incomprehensible, but again, if we had been told 4 years ago this is where Democrats would have us, I think most people, even right-wingers, would not believe it would get this far, because I think erroneously in hindsight, they would have believed that their Democrat friends would have stood up and said, no, this is unacceptable. This is, above all, we're Americans. We're brothers and sisters. We've learned a unfortunate lesson, and that is they will cheer it on the whole way. The judge made some rulings regarding video cameras. We'll touch on that. Also, it appears that Chinese spy balloon was gathering crap tons of information, despite what now appears to be total lies from the Biden administration. From Biden, Kamala, JKP, Karine Jean-Pierre, KJP, Blinken, every person from the administration, it's Benghazi all over again regarding the lies. They all went, oh, it was just a spontaneous, oh, no, it wasn't planned. No, there was no way anyone could have known. It was about some videotape, some YouTube video. That's all it was about. And, of course, we would learn that they knew that wasn't true. Everyone from the Obama administration was lying about it. And now, the apparent very successful intelligence gathering of highly sensitive information from the communist Chinese, we were lied to about all that. Oh, no, they weren't able to get any information. Oh, in fact, we got information on them. Yeah, that's right. We reversed it. We really did a trickaroo on them. Evidently, according to new reports out of NBC, they were controlling that balloon, and they were doing figure eights over the most sensitive areas, sucking up as much information as possible that was immediately landing in Beijing. No one's going to be held accountable for this, of course. I'm sure Biden will just have some ice cream and then claim it's not true. Jason Reimer with the latest news update. First Alert Forecast sponsored by Navant Employee Benefits that work. Wind advisory 2 today through tonight. Cloudy, slight chance of afternoon showers, storms, high of 84. Then showers and storms likely tonight. As Ryman mentioned, some could be severe with a chance of tornadoes, a low of 49. Sunny tomorrow, a high of 49. American Transmissions, talk and text line 447-KSGF. Hey, Floors Plus, 0% financing. Keep that in mind. For all of your flooring needs, they have 2 very convenient locations, Nixa and Springfield. In fact, now that I think about it, they're kind of along the same road. You can find out details on either of the locations under Nick's endorsements at ksgf.com, whether it's hardwood flooring, it is luxury vinyl planking, carpeting, tiling, and then plus backsplashes and more, customized bathrooms, showers, tiling. Floors Plus, Nixa and Springfield, 0% financing, 12 months. In what is being described as an early victory for former President Donald Trump, the New York judge presiding over his criminal case ruled no video cameras will be allowed in the courtroom when Trump is arraigned on Tuesday. State Supreme Court judge. I keep seeing, by the way. Well, this is what his judges attorneys ask for. But I don't know if Trump would have minded, so I just don't know the answer to that. I'm sure they had a discussion as to how that would play, because clearly it has been accepted by supporters of Trump and haters of Trump. This has helped him in terms of support. Poll numbers have gone up, and it does. It makes just be honest, my emotional reaction when I sit there intellectually thinking about, well, what if DeSantis runs, and would that be wise, and so forth. When this stuff happens, I'm all in for Trump. Just like, screw him. We've got to send a message to them. They are not in charge. It's clearly the reaction a lot of Americans have. When you recognize that benefit that he is enjoying, which wasn't unexpected, you think, well, why would they not want cameras in there? And these are conversations I know that they've had that I'm always interested in, the back and forth. And, well, okay, what's the upside? What's the is that too much? Is that going to be something that works against us and so forth? But nonetheless, the story here, this is all being framed as it's a victory for Trump that the cameras aren't in there. And fair, I'd say it's fair to characterize it that, because that's something that his attorneys asked to happen. No cameras in there. Video cameras in there. State Supreme Court Justice Juan Merchan made the ruling last night, allowing 5 pool photographers to take still photos for several minutes before the proceedings officially began at 2:15 p.m. today. I'm assuming that's Eastern time, so 1:15 our time. It is unclear whether those photos would capture Trump in court or just the setting beforehand. In addition to professional video cameras, cell phones, laptops, and other electronic devices are also not allowed in the courtroom per the order. Cameras are, however, permitted in the hallways of the building. This is what the judge wrote regarding the issue. That this indictment involves a matter of monumental significance cannot possibly be disputed. Never in the history of the United States has a sitting or past president been indicted on criminal charges. Mr. Trump's arraignment has generated unparalleled public interest and media attention. The populace rightly hungers for the most accurate and current information available. To suggest otherwise would be disingenuous. Unfortunately, we will have to rely largely on the media, which, of course, is not going to serve the purpose of those hungering for the most accurate and current information available. The ruling comes after Trump's attorneys urged the judge to deny a request by media outlets to allow cameras in the courtroom, saying it would create a circus-like atmosphere at the arraignment, raise unique security concerns, and is inconsistent with President Trump's presumption of innocence. One of the much anticipated aspects of today is what exactly is the indictment going to read. And we keep hearing 34, and what's being noted by many is that that could simply be, let's say, for example, they are the charges against him are for having a payment in the wrong column, because that's largely what this is about. Well, to a degree. There's so many links in the chain, but one of them is that the payment was listed in the little book where you write down expenses. It was listed as attorney fee instead of payoff to Stormy Daniels. So the payment was in the wrong column. And what oftentimes happens with paperwork, particularly, I think most people understand Trump's not sitting there doing that. He's got people who do it. But because it's his company, it's his business, it's his campaign, there are, initial here, initial here, initial here, initial here. And if he's initialed 34 different times, then they can compound the accusation, the charge, by 34. That's just a very simplistic example. So the point is, when you hear 34, oftentimes, some people think, oh, man, were there 34 different women? Oh, my gosh, they're really going to get them. It most likely is nothing of the sort, but it's just a piling on of one or two offenses, just hitting it from 80 different angles. Jen Psaki, these people are so obtuse to reality. Jen Psaki, because she literally was the mouthpiece for the White House, for the Democrats, for the Biden administration, of course, gets hired by MSNBC. Completely unbiased network. And she's doing what she did for the Biden administration, and that is act as a mouthpiece for the Biden administration. We're going to take a break, and I'm just going to play a brief bit of audio that, and I know these people understand that they are dishonest, but she made a comment. It's advice to Democrats on Trump's arraignment today that shows a level of obtuseness that reveals the lack of any ability to critically think on her part. It's quite humorous at the same time. That next, I'm Nick Reed. Jen Psaki made the natural transition of being the mouthpiece for the Biden administration in the White House to the mouthpiece for the Biden administration on MSNBC. Inside with Jen Psaki. And she had some wise advice for Democrats regarding their reaction, their expression of Trump's arraignment.
As much as you may want to, now is not the time for a mass order. What should they be doing about the indictment news? Let me start with what I don't think you should be doing. As much as you may want to, now is not the time for a mass order of lock 'em up t-shirts and mugs. That's exactly what Trump and his supporters would do.
All right, so she's telling Democrats, hey, you don't want to be like those awful Republicans. Now's not the time to chant lock her up. That's what Trump and his supporters would do. But you are actually trying to lock him up. This is how I can't imagine being. I think she's a sociopath. I'm really beginning to think there is this this group sociopathic mentality that has evolved amongst Democrats where they just don't even, there's no morality. In her mind, she's telling Democrats, don't do things so awful like chanting, lock him up, or wearing t-shirts. No, that's the sort of trashy thing that they would do. Well, that's exactly, they've gone beyond the t-shirts here. They've actually indicted him. But this is the double standard, two-tier justice system that not only have they formed, but they're comfortable with. Republicans aren't even allowed to put something on a t-shirt that Democrats are actually allowed to do. Springfield's Talk 104.1, I'm Nick Reed. First Alert Forecast, sponsored by St. Clair of the Ozarks Home Improvements Wind Advisory from 2 today through tonight. Slight chance of afternoon showers and storms, high of 84. Shower storms likely tonight, could be severe. Chance of tornadoes, low of 49. 49 for the high. Tomorrow, we do have happy hour Friday, Retro Metro, 4 to 6. Love for you to join us. I want to move on to some just continuing economic reality that we're dealing with while Biden is out there touting the economic success of his policies. I really do believe. I mean, it seems like every time he's out pushing, he's out there on a tour talking about how good the economy is. I swear, every time he does that, we get some new indicators that show things are not going well. First, I wanted to read to you just a paragraph from a story that, if it does not sum up how screwed up we are today. Now, I want you to imagine, this is a paragraph from a story, let's say 5 years ago or 10 years ago, before we began to treat it as normal that you got to change the meaning of words and just pretend that you're a different gender than you are. Pretend that your gender was assigned to you. Now, this is a story, and some of the latest information that's been released regarding the Nashville shooter is that this was something that she'd been planning for months. This, according to diary writings. And the FBI is still, they're really evaluating that manifesto, to which I say, for what? I understand if you're looking for the person, you're trying to get into their mind, figure out what motivates them, where to go. If you're going to release it, I think we all know the answer to this. They're going to try to cleanse it, clean it up. But listen to this paragraph. Police have identified the suspected shooter by their name at birth. Hale reportedly was a transgender man who used he/him pronouns, though law enforcement officials initially described the suspect as a woman in the aftermath of the shooting. Police did not provide another name, but on the suspect's social media account, they refer to themselves as Aiden. Do you know how confused you? It's confusing even for a lot of people to read that now. You got plural when it should be singular. You got all of these. Like, what is this? Now, can you imagine reading that? You would think, if you read that before all of this nuttiness began, before we started using the plural there for the singular him or she, and so forth, you would think, what has happened? Did the person writing this, is this a fourth grader who is not that bright that wrote this? This is where we are today. And those who fancy this form of communication are the ones who really consider themselves to be the best and the brightest, the most intelligent amongst us. Thee, they, them, her. Small businesses impacted by Biden's current economic tumult are filing for bankruptcy at levels last witnessed at the outset of the lockdown-induced recession, even as Biden touts an uptick in new business ventures. Now, think about that for a moment. Do you remember the unprecedented, catastrophic impact the government had on business when they decided as government, it decided as government, to start dictating when businesses could be open, what businesses could be open, how many people you could have in your businesses at a given time, what hours you could be open. Socialism at its finest. Devastating. Biden has managed, in the context of small businesses and bankruptcy, to get us back there again through his brilliant economic plans. All of these things to help us. Economic phenomena such as inflationary pressure, as well as the rising interest rates caused by monetary tightening from the Federal Reserve, have produced an increase in the number of small and medium-sized businesses filing for bankruptcy, according to a note from investment bank UBS obtained by Business Insider. Fears of a credit crunch amid the failure of multiple banks worsened. The rise in bankruptcies, the number of business closures surpassed the peak witnessed 3 years ago when governments implemented lockdown mandates. So in other words, it's even worse than. I don't know. Of course you could if you tried. Only Biden could manage to do this. Well, there are a number of Democrats that could manage to do it. But he has managed an economy that has led to the number of business closures surpassing the peak 3 years ago when government forced businesses to shut down. You got to give it to the guy. I mean, what a talent. He manages to shut down more businesses than when the government forced businesses to shut down. Just like, you can't open, we'll arrest you if you open. And he manages, with finesse, to create an even greater degree of calamity without using force. The force of, just the straight up shut down, you can't open, call 911 if you see somebody, in a business when we don't give that business permission to be open. The number of monthly bankruptcy filings reached nearly 32,000 as of February 2023, an 18% rise from the 27,000 bankruptcy filings seen in February of 2022. Again, things are getting much, much worse. But like Afghanistan and the border and the Chinese spy craft, this is their version of success. Anytime the Democrats, specifically under President Joe Biden, tout something as a success, know that it is total disaster. I'd be very, very concerned if I'm part of any group, organization, demographic, and Biden focuses on me and says, you know what, your problem is, I'm going to fix it. I'm going to prove it to be a success. I would run for the hills because this guy's version of success and this is the party of small businesses. This is the party that's really going to stick it to those big corporations, make them pay their fair share. Meanwhile, those aren't the corporations, those aren't the businesses that get shut down under these economic policies. It's the small business owner. And it's surpassed. It's just absolutely remarkable that the policies that they either believe or they tell us that are going to make things better have made things worse than the peak of government forcing businesses to shut down in COVID. Meanwhile, U.S. manufacturing near 3-year low. So in addition to a record number of small business bankruptcies over the past several years, now U.S. manufacturing's near a 3-year low. So we've got, again, economic policies that have caused things to get just as bad, if not worse, in terms of manufacturing than when the government shut everything down. Manufacturing PMI at 46.3 in March versus 47.7 in February. I'm sure this is all success. This is what success looks like. U.S. manufacturing activity slumped in March to the lowest level in nearly 3 years as new orders plunged, and analysts said activity could decline further due to tightening credit conditions. The Institute for Supply Management, ISM, survey on Monday showed all subcomponents of its manufacturing PMI below the 50 threshold for the first time since 2009. So worse than COVID. Some economists said this suggests recession is around the corner. We'll be told it's not a recession, though, of course, because when you're a Democrat, you just get to rename things. The recession will self-identify as a booming economy. And On top of it, almost as if the world has decided to collectively kick us while we're down because they can, oil prices rose yesterday after OPEC oil alliances unexpectedly cut production by more than 1 million barrels daily. A lot of these things happen unexpectedly. This administration totally caught off guard. They never see it coming. And they're always just very disappointed. Always very disappointed. You've got Algeria, Iraq, Kazakhstan, Kuwait, Saudi Arabia, United Arab Emirates, collectively cutting production by more than 1 million barrels a day, starting in May until the end of the year. At the same time, Russia said it's reducing production to 500,000 barrels of oil a day until the end of the year, putting the total oil production for most OPEC Plus members and Russia at about 1.6 million barrels a day. The reductions are in addition to the 2 million barrel a day cut announced in October. OPEC Plus stated these production cuts went into effect in November. You may recall that those were the cuts that weren't supposed to happen until well after the election. They were announced before the election, and it turns out Biden had asked them to hold off until after the midterms. So again, self-identifying as success, the Biden administration's economy. They don't suffer. No less ice cream for Joe. It's just the middle and lower class who get hit the hardest. The party of the working man. I'm loving this this back and forth outrage, if you will, that's going on regarding Leslie Stahl's interview with Marjorie Taylor Greene and the big uproar. Well, first off, the left was mad that she would even interview her because we're only supposed to have one-party rule. No diversity. All lockstep. You don't even have to think for yourself. They'll tell you what to think. Ask Fauci. Well, then they heard the interview, and one of the statements that there's a couple of reasons I love this. Leslie Stahl was like, well, you call Democrats the party of pedophiles. First thing I love about is the reaction. She's like, yeah. Yeah, because Republicans like, well, it was taken out of context, or, well, one of my staff, must have posted. And she's like, yeah, because they are. Why would you say that, Leslie Stahl says? Why? Why would you say that? Because they are. And the reason she gave is this sexualization of children, the desire to watch, and most recently, North or South Carolina, 14-year-old student at a school event with adults standing around watching, getting a lap dance from a man. 14-year-old girl. This desire of adults to put pornography in the hands of kids. And among other things, and her point was that is what pedophiles do. Those are things that pedophiles do. And you can't really disagree with that. I mean, what are you going to say? Oh, pedophiles, they don't sexualize children at all. What are you talking about? A pedophile would never try to give a child a lap. No. They would never share pornography with a child. No, they would never do that. You can't deny that's exactly what's happening. It's the reason, if not one of the reasons, that the left is going so apoplectic, because they can't say that's not happening. And they can't really claim pedophiles don't do those things. I don't care where you are on this issue. I believe most reasonable people would agree. The things that the left are pushing in the name of transgenderism when it comes to having kids write. This was another thing. A teacher at some school had kids write out, I think they were 6 and 7, their sexual fantasies. These, whether it's lap dances or having students write out their sexual fantasies or wanting to talk to kindergartners about your sex life, these things that get defended, the offering up or pornography to kids, and sometimes it is child pornography, in the public libraries, that 10 years ago, no one would have defended that. Everyone would have agreed with what Marjorie Taylor Greene is describing as behavior of a pedophile. Everyone would have agreed with that. If you had multiple choice, which of these things do you see as behavior of a pedophile? Lap dances for 12-year-olds, talking to 6-year-olds about their sexual fantasies, providing child pornography to children? You'd be like, yes, yes, yes. It isn't the, quote, right that has all of this sudden become extreme on this issue. They've been consistent. Once upon a time, everybody, except pedophiles, were on the same page about this stuff. Sarah Myers.
Hey there. Well, if you have things growing in your gutter, that's really impressive, but it is not good for your roof. Now, clogged gutters, they can cause a backup and get under your shingles and ruin those shingles and your decking. Now, if you've noticed that your roof is not performing the way that it should, give the Pyramid Roofing Company a call today. Josh and the Pyramid Roofing Company team, they can come out, they'll do a free estimate, and they'll take a look at what's going on with your roof. Maybe you don't need a whole new roof. Maybe you need just a roof repair or maybe new gutters. Either way, the Pyramid Roofing Company, they'll get you all taken care of and make sure that your roof is in tip-top shape. Now, you can find all of the contact information for the Pyramid Roofing Company housed under the Sarah's Endorsements tab at ksgf.com.
Springfield Cardinals. Register now to win Springfield Cardinals tickets when you text the word Cardinals to the text line 417-447-5743. Great season of Springfield Cardinals baseball, which, by the way, we are going to be carrying on our station, The River, 106.7. So you'll be able to hear Springfield Cardinals this season. When's the first game? Is it tomorrow? I don't even know.
It is this week. I think it's tomorrow.
Okay.
No, maybe it's Thursday.
Okay. Somewhere around there. Well, you have a chance to win tickets. Just text the word Cardinals to the American Transmission. Talk and text line 447-KSGF. You'll get a text back letting you know that you successfully entered. 7 U.S. government investigators fell ill in early March while studying the possible health impacts of the toxic train derailment in East Palestine, Ohio. The U.S. Centers for Disease Control and Prevention confirmed to CNN last Thursday. The investigators' symptoms included basically what other people in the community said that they were experiencing, while the Biden administration was saying, no, everything's fine and everything's safe. Remember that? Remember they had the photo op and they're in that person's kitchen. They're all drinking water. Look how good everything is. Oh, you people, it's all in your head. Evidently, it was also in the head of 7 U.S. government investigators. Sore throats, headaches, coughing, nausea. Consistent what residents experienced after the February 3rd train derailment that released the cocktail of hazardous chemicals into the air, water, and soil. The investigators who experienced symptoms were part of a team conducting a house-to-house survey in the area near the derailment, and they immediately reported their symptoms to the federal safety officers. Symptoms resolved for most team members later the same afternoon. Everyone resumed their work. The illness is coming to light after repeated assurances by government officials and reps that the company that operated the train, everything was fine. Everything was okay. See, anytime the government tells you, don't worry, everything's fine, you should just believe them. You should absolutely believe them. They have a tremendous track record of consistency. News in 60 seconds. I want a great homeloan.com because you do. There are plenty of places you can get a frustrating home loan experience, a mediocre home loan experience. But if you want a great one, then you want Don Carricker, Alex Carricker, Anthony Carricker, the team at iwantagreathomeloan.com. 7 days a week until 9 o'clock at night. You have access to those folks, and they just do a really great job. I can attest to that in my own experience, as so many others can as well. You can read reviews online for all of those home loan needs. It's iwantagreathomeloan.com. In my mind, I'm watching Trump. I think his arraignment's not until 1:15 our time, 2:15 there. There's a gaggle of journalists outside, and he may show up. I don't know what time. Show up a great deal earlier. I don't know. Can you imagine if you're the person that's being arraigned right before him? Wouldn't that be weird? You're like walking out. No, here comes President Trump. Part of me wishes he'd wear a cape or something. Don't you just something? I imagine he's gonna just walk in and he's gonna wave and then go inside. But there's part of me that just thinks he should wear a cape or have a giant American flag or something, but I don't know what it would be. I'm not sure.
Yeah, what if he just ran out with one of his Trump flags and was like waving it?
Just wave it all Patriot style.
Yes.
Yeah, just like that, or Les Mis. Then he'd be accused of not taking it seriously. Wouldn't it also be funny just to watch the reaction if the judge dismisses all of it? Just dismisses all of it, which this is the thing about it that worries me. I keep hearing analysts who note that this is clearly political, even some on the left. Your politicians and stuff, and they're different. But the actual legal analysts, that this is clearly not a legit situation. And they keep dismissing this as, well, this is going to work itself out. People in the criticism of Pelosi, and she noted, which I think is refreshingly honest, that Trump has to prove himself innocent because that's the system that we have now. If you are not on the left, you have to prove yourself innocent instead of innocent until proven guilty. And that's what she tweeted out. And the remark that a number of non-psychopathic Democrats have been making is that, well, the system will work itself. This should not be reason to question our justice system just because you have a corrupt DA, that ultimately there will be a jury of peers and the facts will be laid out. And I'm like, what world are you living in? I mean, we have seen some of these cases. Look at the case that involved Hillary Clinton, whichever one of her circle of influence people, and the jury was packed with Hillary Clinton supporters. One of the jurors said, I don't even know why we were wasting our time on this. And it's New York. I don't know why it is that we are supposed... here's how I guess I see it. It is not difficult to find Democrat voters who are embracing this tyranny, who could not even tell you what it is that he's supposed... They probably think, well, it's because he paid someone off. They probably think that that's what the charge is, and that's not what the indictment's expected to be. But about how the payment was categorized. You think some of those people aren't going to be on a jury? You think somehow in New York a jury that would sit down and listen to a case against Trump is going to somehow be absent any of those psychos? I don't have faith in it. I don't have faith in the problem with having a society that continually, frankly, gets dumber and dumber is so does a jury. And I'm not talking about just the context of Donald Trump, but in our entire system where you're reliant on your fellow citizens to determine whether or not you go to prison or not. And you look at the things that are going on in the schools. You look at the things that even at Stanford, these are future attorneys melting down and thinking that certain people, judges even, should not be allowed in society because of their opinions on things. And I'm telling you, it's very, very worrisome to me. And I'm not one of these people that think, well, I mean, the DA, clearly this is political. The jury will see that, so they'll find Trump not guilty. And I'm not saying that that won't occur. But to feel confident in that? No siree. First alert forecast. Wind advisory from 2 today through tonight. Slight chance of afternoon showers and storms. High of 84. Of course, you heard the weather update there in the news report. Showers and storms likely tonight. Could be severe. Chance of tornadoes. Low of 49. Sunny. 49 tomorrow. All right, we're going to open up the phone lines. And if you have any thoughts on the elections today, I'd like for you to share them. You don't have to. Don't feel compelled. I know that oftentimes dealing with more local elections, they're not so much issue-oriented, oddly enough, but directionally oriented. It's different than when you're talking about Trump policy versus Biden policy and what's going to happen in the economy here versus there. But that being said, we will open the phone lines. The American Transmissions talk and text line 447-KSGF. And if you have any thoughts on any of the levies, the bonds, the school board races, the city council races in the area, this is your chance to call in or text in and let us know. And if you all want to do that, then we'll get you on. But if you don't, got plenty of other stuff we'll cover. But I am going to give you just a few thoughts on the elections today here in just a couple of moments. Again, the American Transmissions talk and text line 447-KSGF. That is 417-447-KSGF. Election day, the American Transmissions talk and text line 447-KSGF. Let's go to Alan in Springfield. Alan, welcome to the show.
Hey, hi, Nick. How are you?
I'm doing great, thank you.
Hey, I got a question, and I guess maybe I'm not aware of it. I live in the county just south of Elizabeth NC, and I don't have kids in school anymore, but I was hoping that I was going to be able to vote for the school board, and it wasn't on the ballot. And, some of those schools are, outside the county, or at least I think they are. And I was wondering why it wasn't on the ballot.
Well, it should have been if you were in that, if you live in that school district, and you are. This can be, it can throw people off a bit because oftentimes they'll live in one city but be in another school district. So they may live in Springfield but be in the Willard School District. And the easiest way, well, there's a couple ways to find out. One is if you have your voter ID card, it tells you which school district that you are in. And also, if you look at if you have any personal property taxes you pay at the end of the year, it breaks down. Here's where your dollars go. And one of the breakdowns, which I believe is consistently the largest amount of money, it lists a school district. And if you are paying taxes for that school district, and if it's on your voting registration card, then it should be on your ballot.
Okay. Well, that
But it is confusing. Yeah, it's confusing because people just understandably think, well, if I live in the city limits of Springfield, then I'll vote for the Springfield School Board, or if I live in Willard and so forth, and you get overlapping sometimes, and it's a bit counterintuitive. But I'm glad that you asked the question, Alan. Thanks for the call this morning, because a lot of people aren't aware of that, and this is something last time around we really tried to push out there, make sure people knew, because there were just a lot of folks that had no idea that it was that way. They did not know that they could vote in a particular school board race when, in fact, they happen to be in that district. Let's go to Barbara. Welcome to the show, Barbara. How are you?
Good morning, Nick. How are you?
Good morning. I'm doing wonderful.
Yes. Well, I had a few thoughts this morning. I hope you all will vote for the men. Besides being business owners and knowing how to run fiscal stuff and pay bills, I think that they will have a good contribution with Miriam and Kelly and Steve on the board already. I went to that last school board meeting. I'm telling you, that was the first one I ever went to, and boy, it was a eye opener. And you can also look online for a compilation of, in the board's own words, what they said at ourkidsfirst.info. ourkidsfirst.info. And then about Proposition S, I don't know that many people have really talked about this very much, but consider that there is an exodus from the public schools, and consider that some of the schools that they have right now might be underutilized, and maybe they can maximize their space that they already have, and consider also that students are also virtual. There are students that are counted that are not actually in buildings. So, and then also consider that this year is a year for property reassessment. So, very likely your taxes are going to go up anyway. Yeah. So just think about all these things. And I like having money in my pocket. I don't know how y'all feel, but, that's just how it is.
You notice when it comes to government schools, an example of this, whenever there is an increase in participation, an increase in bodies, an increase in students, that means, of course, they tell us, well, we have to have more money because we have more students. But somehow, whenever there are less students, as you noticed an exodus of students, Springfield, they still need more money somehow. Isn't that amazing the way that it works? There's never, ever you almost want to sit these people down and say, can you just explain to me a hypothetical situation where you'd say, you know what, we don't need as much money.
Oh, yeah.
Just as an exercise.
Oh, this is phase 2 of a plan that you've already approved, so don't quit while you're,
Yeah, right.
Don't take your foot off the gas.
Yeah.
So, but anyway, the last time they had a bond, maybe they didn't spend it all like they said they were going to, and maybe they only spent a little bit out of the safety of this, out of that huge sum out of the for safety, increased safety. So I think that they can probably find money somewhere, and I think that they can do some adjustments of where their kids are, and that's my
All right.
3 cents today.
All right. Thank you, Barbara. It's great to hear from you.
Thank you, Nick. Have a great day.
All right, you
Bye-bye.
do the same. Bye-bye. We're going to take a quick break, get more of your calls, text messages as well. The American Transmissions talk and text line 447 KSGF. Don't forget Oller Building Company, OLLER, the Woodcrest Development in Ozark, Golden and Weaver New Subdivision, Woodvale, 3 to 5 bedroom. These are for those of you who don't want to have a pre-owned home. You don't want to mess with the remodeling or the redesigning. Maybe it's just a paint, different paint color. You can have all of that chosen from the very beginning with the showroom floor at Oller Building Company. So day one, you walk through. No changes necessary. That's OLLER, Oller Building Company. Message on the American Transmissions talk and text line regarding the elections. By every metric, Springfield Public Schools has produced a worse and worse product, yet the establishment keeps things the same. Candidates have raised over $100,000 for a local school board election. This should let you know something is very wrong. You have to vote against the establishment too and send a message. Vote for McCarter and Rollins. Let's go to Don Carricker. Hello, sir.
Hello.
How are you, man?
Hey.
Yes.
Doing good. That's the point I was just going to make, is that, if you went to the grocery store and they're trying to sell you old, rotten produce and try to tell you that, oh, by the way, we want to increase the price of that old, rotten produce that we're going to sell you, how many people would buy it? So in the same vein, stop paying more for an education that we're getting that's garbage, old and rotten. Let's stop giving them money.
But
they
what
need
if it's
to deal
packaged?
with the money they've got. And
what if that old rotten fruit is put in a nice package that says fresh and brand new?
Yeah, the new. This is the new. No, they tell you how to make food with rotten food. That's what they're doing. Is they're saying, oh, this is the new math. We want to go ahead and teach it this way because you're going to get a better product. No, you're going to get the same old rotten fruit. So definitely do not give them any more money. They don't need any more money. Didn't you have people on just this week, I think, or last week, that were saying that the budget is over? Darren Chappell was talking about it. How they've got a surplus.
1.2 billion.
No. Yeah. Yeah, so
Desi,
stop giving this Proposition S and you know what S stands for. It's a 4-letter word, and that's what they're trying to push through here. So do not vote yes on Proposition S. As far as I'm in Ozark School District, so the people that are in Ozark, please, first of all, everybody needs to get out and vote, because if you don't, the teachers and the administration are going to get out and vote for who they want in school administration and on the school board. So when you go to vote, you need to vote in Ozark, vote for AAC, Anthony and Amber and Christina. We have a chance in Ozark. This is a neat opportunity. We get to vote for 3, and there's only 5 running. So we can put 3 out of the 5 conservatives in on the school board. That'll give us a majority, and we can finally take back the school board for the conservatives. So AAC, Anthony and Anthony, Amber, and Christina.
Okay.
For school board in Ozark. Anthony, Amber, and Christina.
All right.
So
done.
that's all I got to say.
All right, good sir. See you Friday. Will we see Friday at Scramblers?
Possibly so.
Okay, we'll see you out there.
You know this is Good Friday.
Yes.
So you probably, as a matter of fact, won't see me. I'll be in church.
Okay, in the morning for breakfast.
Oh, I'm sorry. I thought you meant the after
no,
hours.
yeah,
You got
no,
the
the happy hour.
thing
No,
going.
I meant at Scramblers, the Friday roast.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, we will be there Friday morning.
All right, sounds good. Thank you,
And
sir.
Happy Holy Week to everybody.
Yes. See you Friday. Text message. As far as the Springfield public school candidate, seems like the last week Tate and Bruner signs have popped up all over my neighborhood. The problem is mostly older people vote, and they will always vote the same way. All right, Michael, hold on real quick, we will get to you, plus any other calls on the vote today. The American Transmissions talk and text line 417-447-KSGF. If you download the app, it's real easy because there's just a button. You hit call the studio, and bam, you're done. Right, everyone. The First Alert Forecast sponsored by Navant Employee Benefits That Work. Wind advisory 2 today through tonight. We're going to have clouds, slight chance of afternoon showers, storms, high of 84. Then showers and storms likely tonight. Some could be severe. There is a chance for tornadoes, a low of 49. Wednesday, sunny with a high of only 49. So we're not going to see much of a raised temperature there. Thursday, 59, 64 on Good Friday, which we do have happy hour, as Don mentioned there. That will be 4 to 6 at Retro Metro. Love for you to come by. Michael in Marionville, welcome to the show.
Morning, Nick. How are you?
I'm doing just fine. How do you do, sir?
Oh, I'm better than I deserve.
I doubt that.
Hey.
I bet you do deserve it.
Well, I appreciate that. Hey, I just have a bone to pick with the city of Springfield, and I don't even live in Springfield, but I am a fire inspector, and I have been going and doing inspections on the Springfield Public Schools. And I noticed the other day when I was testing the fire alarm at some of these elementary schools where they have between 5 and 9-year-olds, they've got these LGBTQXYZ signs all throughout this building on the door saying that it's a safe space for these little kids. Do you know what that means, Nick?
Well, I mean, I know what they intend it to mean. They intend it to mean that if you are LGBTQ plus or whatever, that you are welcome, that this is a safe space for you.
But tell me, how on earth do you explain to a between 5 and 9-year-old what it means to be gay without talking about sex?
I know.
I have a 2.5-year-old and a 1-year-old at home, and I couldn't imagine that they can't even fathom what that means.
There have always
it blows my mind.
There have always been adults that have been compelled to engage with young children sexually, whether it's through conversation or otherwise. I don't get it. I think most people don't get it. I think even a lot of people who don't say anything about those who do it, they don't get it either, but they don't want to be accused of being harmful or triggering anyone, so they just keep their mouths shut. But it's just they're sort of out there, and they are unapologetic now about their desire to talk to kids about this stuff, to engage with them sexually. And like I said, I don't get it. I don't feel those compulsions whatsoever. But unfortunately, they do now, and you're the bad guy if you think it's odd. I mean, really, that's the upside down world that we're in. But
to me, it screams pedophilia. I just don't see it any other way. I can't fathom talking to somebody that young. I'm 22, almost 23 years old, Nick, and it just doesn't make any sense. Maybe I'm old-fashioned, but it kind of just reminds me of Jeffrey Epstein in just about every way. And
aside,
I don't know.
Yeah, and aside from that, the default by if you're telling one group of kids, well, this is a safe space for you, well, what does that tell to the kids that aren't in that category? And they can posture all they want and say, well, all spaces are safe spaces for white, privileged, cisgender, straight kids. But you're 6, 7, 8 years old. You don't know you only know what you're being indoctrinated into, and that's what they're doing. Michael, thanks for the call. I appreciate it. Regarding the vote, this is a pretty on-point text message. It's not the establishment doing it. It's the people who don't. Talking about voting, there was a text earlier that noted the problem is that these elections, a lot of older people vote, and they always vote for the same thing over and over again. Now, I don't know whether that's true or not. That was the assertion made in a text. And this text says it's not the establishment doing it. It's the people who don't vote who do it. There's 180,000 people registered to vote in Greene County. You watch what the turnout will be. I will say, the higher the turnout, the better it is for the non-establishment candidates. And it's generally that way in all sorts of elections. I believe we would all be better served if these elections were held in November, when you have more awareness that these things are going on. There are a lot of people that don't even know these elections are going on. They have no idea. They know about November when you have those elections occurring, or even maybe in August with primaries, just because there's there's a lot of talk about it. More people are engaged. One of the reasons that they do tend to have them, I believe, in April is it benefits the incumbency. It benefits the establishment because they have a built-in base of voting. And it's very difficult to get people who have not been engaged, who don't have a direct connection to some of the people who benefit, to educate themselves and to get out and to vote. So maybe we'll see what we saw last time for Springfield, which I think would definitely be a positive continuation of turning things around. We've begun to turn them around. Will the city of Springfield continue to turn towards improvement, and this is the choice. I mean, it's pretty simple. You have 2 individuals that, as one of the callers, Barbara said, the guys who recognize that things are not going in the right direction, and then you have two that have been part of the problem and say, we want to continue on. Which direction are people going to choose? More of your calls, text messages in moments. Actually, we can get another one in. Is there anybody in that? Which one was next?
Line 3, Carl.
Okay. All right, Carl, thank you, in Springfield. Welcome to the show.
Well, good morning.
Good morning.
I wanted to talk about Prop S, and
Yes.
there's a new development on Prop S, or at least since last Thursday when they announced the new location to relocate the Pipkin Middle School. It's on a dead-end street. It dead ends at Highway 65. The south neighbor is 3M Manufacturing, and who knows, they ought to check the air quality on that deal. The north neighbor is businesses that front 65, and a surprise of all surprises, the west boundary is the main railroad to Memphis. And if you've ever been out on Division Street and you got caught with those trains, like 140 cars long, it takes several minutes. So there is a safety issue with this new location. Ambulances would have to wait several minutes to get into that new school. And heaven forbid if there was ever a derailment and toxic cars would be slammed into the new school. I don't know, right? That's the issues that they only announced it last Thursday. So how, this is election day, so it's kind of late
Down
to
to
get the
finish
word
line,
out.
yeah.
Yeah.
All right.
So,
Well, there are a whole heck of a lot of people that know about it now that didn't before. So you have.
well,
done that.
word is spreading. I just am amazed that I've talked to people who have actually driven out there, and as soon as you cross over that railroad track, boom, there's a line. I suspect the school got a bargain price on that. They don't have to tear any buildings down, and so, but going cheap is not always the best way to go. So
Yeah, I gotcha. Carl, hey, thanks.
Oh.
I appreciate you calling in.
Thank you.
All
Have
right.
a great day.
Yeah, you do the same. We're going to get a traffic update, and then we'll hit a couple of calls in Nixa. Got Ron and Gary lined up. 417-447-KSGF, also streaming live on video. That thanks to Springfield Raps, designer of the KSGF studio. We are on Facebook Live and YouTube. All right, everyone. It's election day. Let's go to Nixa. Gary, welcome to the show.
Hey, Nick, good morning.
Good
How
morning.
are you?
Great. Thank you. Thank you.
Good. Hey, it seems like the times I get to call into your show is always on election day, so I guess I'm here once again with the Nixon report.
That's
So,
all right. That'll work.
Yeah, well, great. So, school board race in Nixa. Nixa, good school system. Seemingly, a better school board than lots of the ones that have been talked about on the radio. And in fact, I voted for two of the incumbents. But the reason I got to vote this morning, the third seat is an open seat, and I just want everyone to encourage everyone to get out and vote for Alex Bryant for that third seat. Everything that you've talked about on the radio about what a school board person should do, what it means about the school board, someone with values, that's him. And great guy. You may remember he ran in the 7th District congressional race and did what I thought was a really impressive third place showing for a first-time campaigner. He got more votes than a lot of experienced elected officials in that race. So, but this is a person that we want on a school board. And so I don't normally vote in local elections. I'm bad about that, but today I couldn't wait to get to the polls and vote for Alex. So I'd encourage everyone, Nixa, don't sit home. This is important. We need good people on the board there, just like Springfield does, just like Ozark and every other town that's been discussed on your program. We need real leadership in Nixa as well, and we've got a good foundation. But to have someone like Alex Bryan on that school board would just change everything. A man of values, a man of the word, just a great guy, and he's exactly what the school board needs in Nixa. So I'd encourage everybody to go out and vote for Alex, and again, I support the two incumbents. Heather Zaromsky and Linda Doherty were the two incumbents, but Alex is desperately needed on the school board.
All right, Gary, it's good to hear from you.
You too. Great
right.
talking with you, Nick. Have a wonderful day.
All right, you do the same. Let's stick in Nixa and go to Ron. Hello, Ron.
Hey, how's it going there, Nick?
Pretty good.
I wanted to talk about changing the home charter in Nixa. They have Proposition 3 where they want to change the standards for recalling elected officials. And basically what that would do is an elected official might get 150 or 200 votes to elect them, but then it would take 600 or 700 votes just to sign petitions to start a recall. How crazy would that be that someone can be voted in with 200 votes, but then you would have to get 600 signatures just to start the process to get them back out? And I think everybody should vote no for that Proposition 3 for the city of Nixa.
All right. Ron, appreciate it, man.
Yep.
All right, have a good rest of your day. Let's go to Springfield, and Pat, welcome.
Yes, thank you. I'll be really quick.
Okay.
I heard Carl's call. I've known him a long time, a former teacher, been involved in Springfield schools trying to make a turn for years, as have I. One thing he left out about Pipkin, if people are not familiar with Springfield, I went to Pipkin 65 years ago. Anyway, it's on Boonville over by the courthouse. It's in an area of more older, middle class, maybe lower middle class homes. It's moving the neighborhood school 10 miles out east of Springfield and busing those kids. And what the thought process, this is typical of this administration. And I hope I'm going to get out and try to do some electioneering this afternoon, but Pipkin parents of 6th, 7th, and 8th graders, for their kids to be bused 20 miles a day is ridiculous. It needs to stay in their neighborhood. And everybody stop right now and figure out how they're going to go vote. Wouldn't that be a good idea?
There you go. Well said, Pat.
Thank you.
Hey, it's good to hear from you.
Thank you.
All right, so there was a text that came in, and the text said, mayoral candidates are not stellar. I'm going to assume this is Springfield. I saw, I don't know what it is about the Mayor McShee's ads, McClure. To me, they're just so hokey, and maybe it's because they seem inauthentic to me. This is just my take on it. Everyone's going to have their own opinion. Clearly, a lot of people really just think he's wonderful. I mean, if you watch the ad, he's just barely second place to Jesus, at least in the one ad. I mean, it's just people gushing over how wonderful he is and thanking him, and because evidently Springfield cannot get any better than it is. I mean, it is just the shining city on a hill. It seemed just a little overboard to me, but and if I recall, one of the claims he made, maybe, I don't know if it was that ad. There was some ad, and he's always for lower taxes. And I'm like, I remember there was the two sales taxes, I think in 2019, that were set to expire, go back to their original rate. And they passed by a very healthy margin, and he gave his deepest thanks for that, for not allowing those taxes to go back to their lower rate, but instead keeping them higher. And I thought, well, that doesn't really seem like somebody who's fighting for lower taxes. That doesn't seem right. One of the issues that's on the ballot in Springfield is it's a new tax that would go on Airbnbs. So this is question 3 on the ballot. It consolidates the city's hotel-motel tax into a single licensing tax of 5% for hotels, motels, and tourist courts. If approved, the question does not change the amount these entities are taxed, but would expand the entity's tax to include short-term rentals like homes listed on Airbnb and similar sites. Now, to me, this is very sneaky because it makes it sound like we're just bundling, but they're also applying it new. So these are new taxes. This is a new tax that would go on short-term rentals like Airbnbs and similar sites that currently are not taxed with this. So I believe this was probably done deliberately. I imagine they feared that if it was just, hey, we're proposing a brand new tax on Airbnbs, do you want to support it, that the likelihood of people in Springfield wanting to add another new tax was less likely than if they couched it within we're just consolidating all this together and it's just going to make it easier. Like when you bundle your phone and your TV. I mean, it's just for convenience. I mean, by the way, we're going to also expand that tax to other people. This is a tax raise on a lot of people who have their own homes and Airbnb. I don't recall Mayor McCheese coming out being vocal against this new tax in Springfield. Maybe he has. I just haven't noticed it. But his opposition, Melanie Bach, ideologically speaking, you can have discussions about where these folks come from. And I've heard people note that they see Melanie Bach signs in yards that cover the political spectrum. That there seems to be this coalition of people across the political spectrum that are supporting her. And so they're confused, like, well, wait a minute, what is she exactly? I can tell you that, to me, there is no race that is as stark, maybe some as stark, but no race that's starker in the establishment versus non-establishment candidate. She is someone that, as I've observed, got active because of her friends and surrounding neighbors and in the Galloway area, and these concerns that they were not being listened to, that the city doesn't care what the citizens say. And so you have the city, which is it's a bubble. The people in this area, they're in their little bubble. And then you have all of these citizens out there that have just experienced numerous interactions that told them our voices don't really matter ultimately. If we are not part of one of the special little in-the-club organizations like the Chamber or some of these others, then our voices don't ultimately matter. Now, that's the perception. I happen to believe to a degree that's true. And Mayor McCheese, he is on top of that bubble. He is in that bubble, while Melanie Bach is the opposite. And now that, of course, what does that mean? She's going to be a good mayor, an effective mayor, not be, those are all questions for each individual to decide for themselves. But this really, to me, is such an example of your cliched politician that is career and part of that establishment, and then the citizen that got active because the local officials were ignoring the people and decided to take a crack at getting in government so in this case she can serve the people instead of the establishment. That to me is what that whole race is about. Got to take a quick break. More ahead. I'm Nick Reed. Let's go to Lynn in Springfield. Lynn, welcome.
Good morning. Thank you for taking my call.
You bet.
I just wanted to give maybe a slightly different perspective on the Proposition S related to Pipkin, because my son did go to Pipkin about 4 years ago, but we busted him in. We were not part of the neighborhood, and the lady was saying that it's a neighborhood school, but part of the problem with that school was like the kids getting there and attendance and everything. There aren't enough kids that get bused, and so then when they call to say, hey, the kids aren't here, the parents are like, we can't get their kids to school. And so most of the people that are working there now are actually excited about the busing because the kids will actually have a way to get to school.
Got it.
And it's not the most safe neighborhood, so I don't know about the other location, but I'm just saying that I just wanted to give a different perspective on.
No, I'm glad you did, because
anyway.
I mean, frankly, I don't know much about any of that, so it's good to have you as a parent in that area call in. I appreciate it. Thank you, Lynn.
Yep, thank you.
All right, have a great one. A couple of text messages here. Let's get these. Let's see, Tom Martz. If you're going to vote in and support candidates, then after the election, you better keep them on the straight and narrow. Very true. He also said Melanie has been a liberty advocate for the 15-plus years I've known her. So I know for a lot of you that's going to carry a tremendous amount of weight. That's Tom Martz saying that, yeah, for 15-plus years she's been an advocate of liberty. And that is 1,000 times more important than Democrat versus Republican. It frankly makes Democrat versus Republican irrelevant if you've got that label, that track record. And I would say Tom Martz, any of you who know him knows that he does not liberally pass around. I wouldn't say that's an official endorsement, but you know what I'm saying. He's very, very strict in his encouragements of that fashion. I think it goes a long way. I do want to, in the upcoming hour, just give some final thoughts on the Springfield School Board. It's something that over the weeks talked about to a great extent, but today is the day people are going to be going to the polls, and it could be, it could be the difference between whether you decide to go or not. Right now you're thinking, am I going to have time? Do I want to mess with it? You could be what makes a difference. We got a date night deal you can register to win at ksgf.com. Wonders of Wildlife, Dogwood Canyon, Ozark Mill at Finley Farms. You get a prize package, if you will, a date night package from all of those folks there. Just go to ksgf.com in order to get registered. It's pretty simple stuff. Friday, got the Friday Road Show, sponsored by Affordable Towing. That's at Scramblers. And then we will have happy hour at Retro Metro from 4 to 6. And it looks like the weather should be nicer by then. Friday, mostly sunny, a high of 64. It's just nice weather, that is. Of course, and I'm sure Rima will have an update on this, the possibility of severe storms tonight, tornadoes possible as well. We'll get to that here in just a moment. The Springfield School Board has received a lot of focus, a substantial amount of focus from this show. Dr. M has been very helpful in providing us information as to what has been going on in the district. One of the reasons that it is so important is because we're at a fork in the road here. And this is something that I believe has been observed by others. I know Congressman Burleson has weighed in on this for these very reasons, talking about how important it is. This is so important. Dr. M getting on the school board some time ago was the camel's nose under the tent, if you will, but for the better. It got in there. Like, okay, somebody got the door cracked open, busted through, and that began the education of people in the community as to what was going on. And that's where, among other things, she was coming on this program and using this as an outlet to inform people as to the things that were occurring, good and bad. And then the last elections came around, and I think that was probably, I would imagine for her, going to be the difference as to whether or not headway was being made or whether it was a lost cause. And the community made headway. Got rid of establishment candidates. And I believe was probably a tremendous shock. Tremendous shock. Especially Charles Taylor from Drury University. I suspect that it was not in any way, shape, or form expected that he would not once again just cruise to re-election, because, again, most people have not participated in these school board elections until they started being called terrorist by the left. And these elites have been able to just coast in. They haven't had to do anything. They have deep pockets that and you see that with this one as well. I mean, the massive amount of money from the establishment. And you hear they say, these outsiders have their dark money. Well, number one, they're not outsiders. They're parents in the community. But yeah, guess what? They don't have the deep pockets of the establishment. They don't. So they have to rely on organizations that are made up oftentimes of members that can only afford $10 or $20 donations, and they get pooled together. That's oftentimes what happens. It's very, 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 very difficult to take on, one, an incumbent, but two, the establishment. And the board at this point, because of the community's move last Springfield School Board election to get rid of the establishment candidates, put two non-establishment candidates on there. Now, we're getting pretty much even Steven split here. The establishment still is controlling things, but today can make a tremendous difference. You're talking about one incumbent. That's Tate. And then you are talking about an establishment in Bruner. And as Barbara said, just vote for the guys. If you can't remember the names, vote for the guys. The guys are the outside candidates here, if you will, the non-establishment candidates. It's like a trilogy of sorts. It began with Dr. M, then we had the last and this is where we see whether or not we are going to really, truly, in the city of Springfield, select a board that first and foremost recognizes that we are not headed in the right direction. I mean, that right there. You see these ads, these very expensive ads, and the Bruner ads are very good, and just so with all the kids, and look, I have an apple in my ad, and I'm just, everything's just hunky-dory and wonderful, and I'm really going to listen to parents and so forth. Well, fact of the matter is, there are two candidates that believe in continuing to take things in the direction they're going. It's Bruner and Tate. And is that what we want for the children of Springfield and our community? I mean, it's more than just it's more than just the kids, of course, because these are the kids that are going to be taking care of all of us in the future. They're going to be running the hospitals and the nursing homes, and so we may tell ourselves it doesn't affect us, it doesn't impact us, but it really truly does. And is that what we want to do? Bruner presided over what many people saw as the downfall of Central. Is that what we want? Sharita Thomas Tate is all about division and lying to the students and support. I mean, there was that whole fiasco. I mean, if you really want a snapshot of where they want to continue taking us versus where the non-establishment people want to instead focus on educating the kids, not busing them off to MSU and convincing them they're all victims and then lying to them about their own racial trauma or lack thereof. And then when one person stands up and does what's right and notes, you guys are lying to the kids, they all pile on that person. It is a culture of dishonesty or a culture of honesty. It's a culture of education or a culture of indoctrination. And this is the crossroads. It is a tug of war. And the two individuals that get elected are going to potentially determine which side of that tug of war wins. Oh, it is very important. I, like a lot of you, probably get annoyed at this is the most important election, this is the most important election. But I would argue, in terms of which direction, more of the same, more of these continued failing scores, not getting better, not even, all right, well, they fail, but at least they're not getting worse. Getting worse year after year after year after year after year. If you notice, the two establishment candidates, Bruner and Tate, aren't running on how well things have done under their leadership. You notice that? It's all about, listen to parents and these sort of flowery things. They're not bragging about their track record. They're not bragging about the results of their time in a position of leadership. Oh, but, Bruner, I've met, she's just so nice. Oh, well, I guess if that's what this is, Miss Congeniality. Or is this about what sort of education the kids get? Does that mean that Landon McCarter and Chad Rollins are going to have all the answers? No. Maybe. Don't know. But Bruner and Tate have already had the opportunity to prove themselves, and we've seen those results. Springfield's Talk 104.1. I am Nick Reed. Jason Rima with the latest news update. And one final text message regarding the elections. SBS School Board, there's one candidate on record saying it's okay to lie to students and parents. One candidate says she doesn't have enough info to make a decision on that. Two candidates believe in teaching mastery of subject instead of training student activists. Yeah, I'd forgotten about that. So that's referencing the whole deal in which instead of learning the basics that so many other countries are focusing on, the kids were pulled out of school, taken over to MSU under the guise of learning about the benefits of higher education, and instead were subject to attempts to convince them all that they have racial trauma. And even when they were told, close your eyes, raise your hands, about 1 out of 4 or 5 raised their hands, but they were lied to and told they all did. Dr. M, school board member, just raised her hand when she was called upon, noted that that's not what actually happened. And the world came tumbling down because evidently the culture at MSU and in the Springfield Public School District, along with Burrell Health, who was part of this, and the Springfield chapter of the NAACP, it's a culture of lying. And that lying is virtuous. And so they all pile on Dr. M with the help of the news leader. When Judy Bruner was asked about it, she claimed whether or not, how she felt about students being lied to. Is this right? Is that she didn't have enough information to make a decision on that. So that's where that moral compass is. And let's not forget that Sharita Thomas Tate tweeted out an editorial explaining how white women are racist terrorists against black men in this country today. That white women use their position and power in society in order to terrorize black men. This is a school board member. What message does that send to white girls in the school? The things that these establishment people go after, they go after Dr. M for arguing students shouldn't be lied to, but fully embrace someone who puts out, retweets an article claiming that white women are terrorists, racist terrorists against black men, when there are plenty of white girls in the school and white teachers who are women, white teachers that are staff members, and that's somehow perfectly okay? No news leader in-depth investigation on that, which leads me to my final point. If anything, do we really want people on the school board that the news leader is going to cover for? How are we ever supposed to make educated decisions about the school district, about the people that get hired in the school district, about the people that get elected on the school board, if one of the main sources of information, the news leader in the community, covers for some of the candidates? If anything, that in and of itself is enough reason to vote for McCarter and Rollins and not want to see Bruner and Thomas Tate on the school board, because we'll never know, other than we've had the benefit of Dr. M coming on this program, but we're limited in scope. All of the news outlets are. It would be nice if every information outlet out there was in the business of actually just reporting what's going on, letting people know in the community what's going on, not covering for some people while looking for ways to attack others. So that's what I have to say about that. Coming up, well, this is just a shocking turn of events. Apparently, everyone in the Biden administration who had anything to say about the Chinese spy balloon was lying about what it was actually able to obtain, which apparently, according to reports, was a hell of a lot of intelligence information. Oh, we've got a fun montage of Biden people telling us that it didn't get anything. Oh, no, don't worry. We had everything protected. Don't worry about it. In fact, we were actually getting information from them. Lie, 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 and lie. The Chinese spy balloon that traversed the United States earlier this year gathered and reported intelligence from multiple sensitive American military sites, despite the Biden administration's claims that it blocked the transmission. This is according to a new report from NBC News. The report, which cites 2 current American officials and 1 former administration official, says the balloon was controlled by China. Remember, we told they couldn't even control. Well, it's the wind controlling it. See, China doesn't have any control. China was remotely controlling it, maneuvered it to make several passes over specific certain military sites, sometimes in a figure-8 pattern, all the while transmitting the gathered data in real time back to Beijing. So in other words, it was outside of releasing some sort of chemical weapon. This is about as bad as it could get. The 3 officials said that the data obtained by China was primarily electronic signals that could be collected from weapon systems or base communications. In case we need a refresher as to the constant, nonstop drumbeat of lies that came out of the administration during the flyover or the blowover, as they would have had you believe.
Once we detected the balloon, the U.S. government acted immediately to protect against the collection of sensitive information.
We acted immediately to take all necessary steps to protect against foreign intelligence collection of sensitive information.
The U.S. has stated that steps were taken to prevent any problems in terms of intelligence collection.
We were also able to ensure the protection of any sensitive information that the balloon would not be able to collect against us.
We protected against Chinese intelligence collection, we protected civilians, and we gained more intel while protecting our own sensitive information.
The Biden-Harris administration responded swiftly to protect Americans and safeguard against the balloon's collection of sensitive information.
Protecting our own sensitive intelligence and maximizing our ability to track the balloon.
We were able to take steps at sensitive military sites that we believed would be along the flight path to significantly curtail any intelligence ability that the Chinese could get from the balloon.
We were able to protect our security data on the ground.
We were able to protect sensitive sites against collection.
We spotted it. We took action to protect sensitive information on the ground that it was attempting to surveil. The balloon attempted to surveil very critical, important military installations. We protected the sensitive information that it was trying to surveil.
We protected our national security information on the ground.
So reminiscent of Benghazi. It was a spontaneous event. It was a YouTube video that angered the Muslim community. It was spontaneous. Oh, this wasn't anything pre-planned. They get their lies in order, and then they get out there in front of the cameras and repeat them over and over and over again. Fast and Furious was the same thing. Oh, no, I don't have any idea what. Oh, no, we don't have any involvement in running guns illegally to drug cartels. No. Until, of course, it turns out that they were. CNN anchor Jim Scioto was forced to update a February tweet that, quote, aged like cheese, claiming that U.S. officials were able to block the infamous Chinese spy balloons from gathering intelligence before it was shot down. Scioto, a former Obama administration official who's now a CNN anchor, and the network's chief national security correspondent, reported on February 4th that the Biden administration was able to block the balloon from not gathering intel in a message that turned out to be wrong. You know, if these media outlets like MSNBC and look how many of these people actually worked in the Obama administration, actually worked in the Biden administration. And we're not talking as commentators here. For example, this guy is their national security correspondent. If these networks would spend more time hiring objective journalists who simply want to gather the news and provide it to their audience, as opposed to hiring people from the administrations they're supposed to be covering, they'd have to do a lot less retracting of stories. clutter, having your life cluttered, things in your car cluttered, your home cluttered. There's all sorts of studies that's parallel it to your psychological well-being, your emotional well-being. So in other words, if you are somebody that is in constant disarray, that can contribute to a less than optimal emotional attitude in life. And I've talked so often about all of the benefits of garage experts, just in sort of the work that I had done in my garage, the aesthetics of it, the storage of it, the ease of cleanliness, the moisture barrier component that the high level epoxy flooring acts as. But I haven't really talked about that component too much, and it really genuinely, whenever I need that screwdriver or I got to find that thing that I'm like, gosh, I haven't used that in a year and a half, and I go out and I may have to check one or two drawers, but I find, instead of having to dig through boxes, pulling things out, getting to the bottom of this, and it just makes life so much easier. So Garage Experts is more about aesthetics, more than just storage. It's actually for your emotional well-being, or it has been for me anyhow. See what they can do for you. You can find them under Nick's endorsements, and see my garage transformation under the videos on Facebook, 1041 Nick Reed. First alert forecast, wind advisory from 2 today through tonight. Clouds, slight chance of afternoon showers, storms, high of 84. Then tonight, showers and storms likely. Some could be severe with chance of tornadoes, a low of 49. 49 the high tomorrow. Yesterday, 3 Tennessee Democrat lawmakers were stripped of their committee assignments and locked out of the Tennessee Capitol because of their leading role in the insurrection that took over the Capitol last Wednesday. This is just so brilliantly perfect because the January 6th insurrection, the show trial, was plagued with edited videos and falsified evidence and false claims against Republicans. Remember, I think some Republicans were leading to a recon mission the day before. Because you had them you have these lawmakers, constituents would come visit, and so they give them tours. You had these nut jobs along with Liz Cheney, portraying these individuals as running some sort of training mission for an insurrection. They had to use edited video in order to make it look as if Republicans were doing something nefarious. Meanwhile, in Tennessee, there actually was, and it's all on video, not unedited, participation and coordination of the insurrection that took place by 3 Democrat lawmakers. Now, these were anti-Second Amendment protesters and it was just a whole cacophony of left-wing nut jobs. I'm just going to give you some audio so you have an idea of what some in the media referred to as, yes, you guessed it, peaceful protests. That was last Wednesday, the state capitol in Tennessee. And what you're hearing there is the assaulting of law enforcement. I don't know if they were state or capitol. They look like they may have been state patrol that were there. At one point, one of the individuals, you could see in that particular video, that footage, bum rushes law enforcement. And by the way, Ashley Babbitt never came near that close to the officer that shot and killed her on January 6th, as she was unarmed. This guy physically rammed his body through law enforcement. They pulled him to the side. The crowd began chanting, "Give him back." And do you know what they did? They did just that. You can hear the chants, and then you can hear the cheering when law enforcement, instead of murdering him like Ashley Babbitt was murdered, actually let him go back into the crowd. But no, that's not an insurrection, is it? Two of the Democrat lawmakers had bullhorns down on the floor, and they were screaming. Was it "No justice, no peace"? It was something along those lines. Let me see if I don't have the snapshot of it here. I believe it was the "No justice, no peace." It had something. It was a threat of violence. Of course, you didn't see that with, you juxtapose Trump telling supporters to peacefully march. And he's someone that Democrats are still trying to put in prison for that. There's still an investigation going on as to whether or not Trump telling supporters to peacefully march to the Capitol was encouraging an insurrection. Meanwhile, in Tennessee, you have lawmakers that are actually on the floor with bullhorns yelling about no justice, no peace. Well, that's just free speech, see? That's totally different, of course. This is why people are waking up to realize we live in a country that is a police state in which the only relevancy of the law is for the police state to use it against the non-establishment people. And we see it every day, every single day. And we don't even any longer have to ask, well, what if Democrats did it? Because they do, and worse. And nothing happens. I'm sure these Democrat lawmakers, they'll probably get some cushy professorship job. Now, it sounds as if they're... it's not yet known whether or not these three Democrat lawmakers are going to actually be expelled as members of the legislature, or if they are just going to be taken off their committees, and for how long. But look, right? I mean, even here in Missouri, we had a state senator, while Trump was president, telling her supporters that she really hoped somebody would assassinate Trump. And the Republican-run Senate was like, we'll just take you off the committee for a bit. But other than that, it's all cool. I mean, who are we to judge? Different rules, different folks. They do Democrat lawmakers in Nashville that had the bullhorn. It wasn't no justice, no peace. It was no action, no peace. So in other words, if you do not move forward with this legislation, this mob out here will make sure that there is violence. Hey, everyone. Sarah Myers.
Hey, thank you. That's me. Now, if you are a realtor out there, listen up. Do you have a list of home repairs that needs to be addressed after an inspection? Well, if so, I want to recommend my friends over at Beadles Property Maintenance. Now, Beadles is spelled Beadles, and they do a variety of home repairs and maintenance. Plus, they are really good at tackling those punch lists. So if you have more serious repairs like water leaks, mold, crawl space issues, Beadles Property Maintenance, they can help you out with all of those repairs. And of course, if you're a homeowner or a property manager, highly recommend that you give Beadles Property Maintenance a call for your home repair needs as well. Now, you can find all of the contact information for Bruce and the Beadles Property Maintenance team. That's going to be housed under the Sarah's Endorsements tab at ksgf.com.
American Transmissions talk and text line regarding the elections today. I am a retired Springfield teacher who is currently subbing. I support Chad and Landon. We need to improve discipline in academics. Kids need to be prepared for the future. The fact is the current policies aren't doing what our schools need to do. Vote Chad and Landon for school board. Please help us get back to excellence. Let's see. Another saying on a side topic. One could say Dylan Mulvaney self-identifies as a woman and Bud Light self-identifies as a good beer. We talked about this yesterday. Dylan Mulvaney's a guy that last year decided to really cartoon it up as a girl. It's the sort of blackface version of transgenderism, overplaying female stereotypes for the purpose of entertaining others. Now, why it is that is okay. Listen, you understand, because these things, they do come and go. And once upon a time, blackface was considered perfectly acceptable. Just as, white people dressing up like black people for the purpose of entertaining. And these drag shows, there's a very good chance that one day in the future, many people who are in drag, they will lose their jobs 30 years from now. They will be, because of the same reasons that people who wore blackface back then would, lose jobs or, end up dropping out of political campaigns. And I know that a lot of people think, well, no, that's not ever going to happen. Well, back when blackface was watched and acceptable, that was, no one would have thought that that was the sort of thing that one day people in the future would look back and say, you should lose your job because you participated in that in college 40 years ago. There is a misunderstanding, and perhaps it's deliberate, that people have about the, quote, backlash against Bud Light in having this guy be a spokesperson. I don't know if he's the sole spokesperson, but a spokesperson for March Madness, for Bud Light and March Madness, in his dress, in his presentation as a girl. And it's essentially presented as they're just haters. See all the hate that's out there against the transgender community? Listen, you can believe me if you want. I don't care. And I'm sure that there are some people that do just hate transgenders. But I'm telling you, the vast majority of backlash is because it's annoying. Stop it already. It's annoying. This whole look at me, center of attention, this non-stop need for attention and praise and building up and told how that is annoying. It's exhausting and annoying. And it's just that way. Just imagine in your own personal life if you had somebody that constantly needed praise, constantly needed to be told how wonderful they were. They were constantly just needing affirmation. At some point, you'd be like, dude, you're getting real annoying. You got to bring it down a few decibels, all right? Because this is just exhausting being around you. That's what it is for most people. It isn't a hatred for transgenders. It isn't a hatred for any of that. While, again, there may be some that feel that way. For most people, It's just so annoying at this point. It's just like, please stop. Please stop it. And it's the everyday nonstop pushing of it that's annoying. What amplifies it is at times it doesn't even seem to make sense. For example, having this transgender guy or gal, he dresses up as a girl, be the sort of the lead on marketing for March Madness, which in his own tweet he referenced that he didn't really even seem to know much about it, about the game itself. And it's like, this doesn't even make sense. Like, even when it doesn't make sense, you're putting it out there, and it's just stop it. At what point will you grow tired of this? Because everybody else is. It's not hate. It's not intolerant, other than intolerance of the nonstop repetitive nature of it. Coming up, Hotel of Terror, short on signatures. What does that mean? I'll tell you next. Springfield city government confirmed yesterday Hotel of Terror owner Sterling Mathis fell 401 signatures short of getting the city's initiation of eminent domain on his property on the ballot. He has until April 10th to make up the difference. So this is what they do. They go through and they get rid of signatures that they feel are not valid. And then there is 10 days after that point for those making the attempt to try to make up the difference. I'm not now. He did say in the news leader, speaking to the news leader, Mathis confirms he intends to collect more signatures to reach the 1,564 threshold. He said, quote, "They said I am 401 short, so we are getting more the rest of the week. Our goal is to get 1,000 by April 10th because it looks like the city counted about half of what we turn in." Man, I'd get 2,000. And I would also, this is just me. Well, if what gets turned in, if it gets rejected to the point they're like, oh, you're still 14 short, I don't know how you'd go about it, but I would check and make sure that every single one of those signatures were legitimately not valid. because I just don't trust the city when it comes to this stuff. It's just me. Maybe I'm overly cautious. I wouldn't trust them. I mean, it's government after all. And it is Springfield government. We will let you know, as we did last time, if there are any publicly available locations that they may be collecting signatures. I don't know. Maybe there may be somebody out at Scramblers on Friday for the road show. Maybe there'll be somebody out at our happy hour retro. I don't know if that is going to occur, or if there are other locations where you can go if you do want to sign. You've got to be a voter in the city of Springfield. This is what happens a lot of times. People, they're not in Springfield, they don't live in Springfield, but they sign it anyway, and then that doesn't count. But we'll let you know if we do get that information to pass along. Here's a perfect story. A Texas school district offered a women and gender study, that taught students to use gender-neutral language. So it's a women and gender study. And it was indoctrinating people not to use gender terms that would suggest either male or female. This is the Orwellian world the left has created, women and gender studies, but we need to get rid of the gender stuff. Makes perfect sense, doesn't it? All right, everyone, we should have some election results tomorrow. Also, Mark Levin's going to carry Trump's statement live tonight. We shall see how the day progresses. In the meantime, Glenn Beck is coming up next. I am Nick Reed, and I will talk to you tomorrow.